So let us start with the webinar today. Just as an introduction, for those who do not know me, my name is Muzaffar, and I am the regional manager for FireStop for Fisher Middle East. I have been with Fisher for more than 5 years. Apart from that, I am an associate member of the Institution of Fire Engineers, UK. The IFE, or the Institution of Fire Engineers, was founded in 1918. It assesses the knowledge of fire and professional experience of the engineers, and then awards internationally recognized membership grades and fire-related qualifications. Through its Engineering Council license as a professional engineering institution, the IFE registers suitably qualified IFE members as chartered engineers or incorporated engineers and other grades of engineers. Fire and life safety is a personal passion that I take very seriously. This webinar is the first part of a series of 3 very interesting webinars. So in this webinar, we would focus on identifying the threat. In the later upcoming webinars, we would be looking at the testing and performance and how correct solutions will save life. In this webinar, we would be seeing some of the statistics of fire and few historical incidents that taught us a lot regarding the fire safety. Then we look at the simple physics of fire. And finally, we look at the fire protection approach in general with a focus on passive fire protection and then an introduction to FireStop. Finally, as many questions as possible will be answered within the remaining time. The second webinar series, which is expected to happen at the end of June, will be inviting you guys who have attended already the first part. And the second series would be looking at the FireStop, the technology behind the FireStop products, and the testing and certifications. The third part, which is in July, would be using the correct solutions, focused on solutions. And we would be having some debunking of some of the myths related to FireStop. And then we would be looking in detail of the applications itself using the different products that are available. So to start with, let's see some eye-opening statistics. 4 million fires are reported every year, with the fire departments attending to a call related to fire every 7 seconds. The fires result in an estimated 15,000 people losing their lives. The most shocking statistic is that an average of 43% companies never recover after a big fire incident due to the associated losses and costs involved in refurbishments. Finally, the best part is that the cost of fire protection in a building is a mere 5% of overall construction cost, a very small sum, which every one of us agree to be spent to save lives. History has lots of lessons to be taught. Several disasters help shape our understanding of fire and protection against it. On 25th of March, 1911, one of the deadliest industrial disasters occurred in the Triangle Shirtwaist factory, located in New York City, USA. 146 people died due to the fire, smoke inhalation, or trying to escape by jumping from windows in the factory, which was located on the 8th, 9th, and the 10th floors of the building. The fire started due to a cigarette butt or a matchstick in a scrap bin under a cutter's desk. Now, the exits in the building were blocked to avoid theft, and people couldn't escape. The stairways were rendered useless as the smoke filled up the stairwell within minutes. The fire led to several legislations improving the safety standards in terms of better building access and egress. The fire extinguisher requirements, active systems, and many more legislations were introduced because of this fire. The second case that we see is of the Worcester cold storage fire that occurred on 3rd December in Massachusetts, USA. Now, this was an abandoned building previously used as cold storage facility. Since it's a cold storage facility, the building had no windows above the ground floor. The walls, the ceilings were covered with several layers of combustible insulating materials, including caulk, polystyrene, foams, and PU foams. Now, the fire was accidentally started by a couple of homeless people who knocked over the candle, and instead of raising an alarm, they left the building with the fire burning. The building had no fire detection or suppression systems installed. So the building also didn't have any firewalls or floors, and only one staircase extended from the basement to the roof. It is estimated that the fire burned undetected for up to 90 minutes within the building. Since no one knew that the homeless people left the building already, the firefighters initiated a search without proper layout of the building. The single staircase, no windows, and thick black smoke resulted in a disaster. The interior floors collapsed and took the lives of 6 firefighters. Basically, when we go through these case studies, you would see a common pattern of how the fire started, how it propagated, and how it resulted in the death of several peoples. So in this case, what we see on your screen right now is the case of a fire disaster which we learned a lot about smoke propagation that occurred at MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, USA. Now, this disaster claimed the lives of 85 people, majority of them due to asphyxiation caused by smoke inhalation. And they were not even close to the fire. The fire began due to electrical ground fault inside a wall-mounted electrical socket. Since there was no fresh oxygen supply within the wall, the fire smoldered for hours before a tile crew uncovered it by accident and it burst into a fireball. The fire spread to the lobby and casino, feeding off combustible wallpaper, glue, plastic fitments, and PVC piping. The burning material created toxic fumes, smoke which rose through the building via vertical shaft. Seismic joints, vent systems also aided to this propagation of the fire. Now, very important to note here is, even though the fire primarily damaged the second floor casino, and adjacent restaurants, the majority of deaths happened on higher floors and stairwells. Some of the guests even died in their sleeps. The major learning from this fire is the smoke being the major killer. Secondly, the fire which is not visible inside the wall, it still is a threat which could suddenly expand into a real fire. The fire taught us that smoke inhalation is a more serious threat than the flames. Due to this fire incident, there were several major reforms introduced into the fire safety guidelines and codes, including all hotels to have exit maps in the rooms itself, addition of smoke detectors within the buildings. Our last case study today. In the recent times, the Grenfell Tower fire was a headline on 14 June 2017 and caused the death of 72 people. The The fire started due to a faulty freezer on the fourth floor and rapidly propagated to the upper floors through the exterior facade. Now, the propagation of the fire was due to the cladding material itself, which was combustible, the external insulation, and the air gap, which caused a chimney effect. The firefighting equipment was poorly maintained, and several fire extinguishers had already expired. This and several other fires around the world unveiled a major drawback of using active fire protection systems as the only fire protection measure in the building. Now, recent fires, be it the APCO Tower in Sharjah or several other fires around the world, has taught us that knowledge is the key, and relying only on one particular system is not the right approach of fire protection. Let's see some of the major causes of fire that happen in buildings. First, being the open flames, like the cooking or decorative candles around the building room, appliances and electrical malfunctions, smoking as in unextinguished cigarette butts, and finally, arson. None of these causes can be completely dealt with, and hence an occurrence of fire in any building is a real and present threat. Let us take a moment here, look around your room, and definitely you could see one of the elements of fire triangle available within the room itself. So, let us learn some basic physics of fire. A fire is a chemical reaction that occurs when three elements, namely the oxygen, fuel, heat, are present in the right mixture. So if we look around us, the oxygen is abundantly present, right? And there are several fuel sources easily available, be it in the form of furniture, bedding, cushions, or paper that is lying around. A small heat source like a cigarette butt would complete the fire triangle, as we saw in the several case studies that we went through just now. Now, when we look at the behavior of fire once it is ignited, a plot of time versus temperature shows a usual life cycle of fire. Once a fire triangle is formed, we have the ignition. This would be at 0 minutes and at ambient temperature. Now, the fire reaction is an exothermic reaction. Hence, if the fuel is available and the oxygen is present, the reaction is self-sustaining. The plume develops and the temperature steadily rises till a point where all combustible material around self-ignites. This happens at around 540 degrees within a 5-minute time and is termed as flashover. Then we have the steady state for as long as the elements of fire triangle are present. And then we have the decay stage and the extinguishing of the fire itself. Now, when you have a fire, basically there are two main products: the heat, which aids in continuation of the reaction, and the smoke and toxic gases. Now that we know that smoke is one of the worst killers in fire incident, and the heat is one of the elements within the fire triangle, let's move on to see how to protect ourselves against this enemy that is apparent, yet many a times we ignore this. So, the approach to fire life safety should be a balanced approach which includes detection, suppression, and containment. Now, broadly, detection and suppression systems are part of what we call as active systems that need external action, power, backup, etc. to be activated. Now, these systems are prone to malfunction, tampering, and can also be switched off, as we seen in the Grenfell Tower case study, where the suppression system, which includes the fire extinguishers, were expired, right? And also there is water tank, which has a limited capacity for the sprinkler system. On the other hand, the passive fire protection system, sometimes referred to as containment or compartmentation, aims to contain the fire within a given fire zone of a building. These elements are built into the fabric of the building and are always on, and are designed to resist the spread of fire, smoke, and toxic gases for a given length of time. Now, again, going back to the time temperature curve, the active systems work in the beginning of a fire and usually are not beneficial when the fire has grown to a certain strength, right? The passive fire protection, however, kicks in and is expected to perform for a given length of time. Our focus through this series is to ensure that passive fire protection is ensured within the balanced approach to fire protection. Now, the compartmentation or the passive fire protection is a requirement given in several building codes, be it the NFPA, IBC codes, etc., or the codes issued by the authorities having jurisdiction. Now, for example, we see the UAE Fire Life Safety Code, right, gives a detailed description of fire compartmentation and the requirements related to the fire compartmentation. So, you may ask, what is this compartmentation that we are talking about? Well, the compartmentation is achieved by dividing the building into several zones using what we call as fire separating elements or fire rated barriers, be it the wall or the floor, etc., as shown in this particular drawing. The blue walls and the red walls are fire separating elements having different resistance classes. So the intention of this division is to ensure that in case there is fire in one of the compartments, it is restricted within it for a given length of time. Generally, the walls are considered as fire rated walls as designed. However, even the floors are considered as fire separating elements. This is, for example, referenced in the UAE Fire Life Safety Code, right? And there are several systems specifically for floors only, including the drainage pipes, as we see in this particular system. The containment ensures fire life safety by giving sufficient time for exit of occupants, enough time for rescue and firefighting services to arrive, and minimizes the damage to the property itself. As we can visualize in this example of a building which had the fire incident on this particular floor, and you could see that the floor below was not affected. Also, the fire did not spread into the several other compartments. Hence, the passive fire protection is one of the most important part of the balanced approach to fire protection. Now, moving on, Fisher FireStop systems are tested systems designed to reinstate the fire resistance of a given assembly after fire barrier has been compromised by a breach. The breach would be required to make the building functional and cannot be avoided, right? For example, a wall was constructed with a rating of 2 hours. Now, the MEP contractor comes and breaches the fire barrier, thereby compromising the fire barrier and reducing the fire rating to 0. The rating is reinstated. He installs his services, the rating still remains 0. Now the rating is reinstated only after an appropriate Fisher FireStop is applied. The FireStop is always a system, and rating is given to an overall system, which includes substrate, right? The penetrant, the backing material, and the Fisher FireStop sealant. The sealant on its own does not have any resistance rating. Similarly, the civil joint between a fire-rated wall and a floor is inherently constructed that you can see. This we would call as a head of wall joint. Fisher FireStop system is applied, right, to get the rating as required and close this particular breach. Again, the civil joints are also a system consisting of the substrate, the backing material, and the Fisher FireStop sealant. We see these breaches in the building projects quite frequently. Flame, smoke, toxic gases escape from the compartment, from the breaches as small as a pencil hole, let alone the bigger compartment breaches that are usually encountered in the general projects that we see. Now, the FireStop systems can be classified into mainly construction joints or civil joints, the MEP penetration systems, and then the facade joints. FireStop systems are helping save lives by ensuring compartmentation is reinstated. Fisher systems are tested and certified by several international agencies, be it the civil joints or the MEP penetrations or complicated openings. Fisher FireStop is a partner in giving efficient and effective solutions. Now we will learn more about testing and the right solutions in our upcoming webinars. Now, please note that this webinar is just the first part of the series, and you would be getting a certificate once you attend all the 3 webinars. And in the upcoming webinars, as we discussed, we'll be talking more about the testing standards itself and the application also. Let us have a look at some of the examples of how pacifier protection saves life before we come to the question answer session. So in this example, you could see that fire stopping has been effective to prevent flame and smoke to pass by from this particular fire separating element into the non-fire compartment. You could see that even if the fire was raging about 1000 degrees, yet the paper on the notice board here not even has a sign of being exposed to fire. Similarly, in this case, it's a view from the fire compartment itself where the fire was raging, and there is a small window that you could see here. Now, if we see the other side of the window, you could see an office which has not been affected by the fire or the smoke. This gives us a brief idea how passive fire protection protect lives. You could ask a question, why Fisher? Now, the simple answer would be we have several tested systems, right? And a range of FireStop products. So you come to us for one solution, which is FireStop, and we provide you with complete solution, including any surprises that a project could offer us using our extensive range of products and the testings that we have. You could see a range of listed systems that we have, and apart from that, We also offer engineering judgment as a solution when none of the listed systems cover the requirement that crops up on the project. Apart from that, Fisher FireStop has been used in several iconic projects across the region, be it the stadiums project in Qatar or the several towers which is going on in the UAE. Apart from that, we have several other projects listed in different regions of the world. We offer several technical documentation and support to ensure seamless work on the site. And most importantly, Fisher provides on-site training, equipping the ones who are installing the Fisher FireStop systems the necessary skill to use the right product. Lastly, we also do mock-ups and project site for ready reference available to ensure the peace of mind. So this is what we say, peace of mind is what we try to ensure by giving the necessary skills to our partners. We, as part of our knowledge sharing, would definitely be interested to come to your premises, or if you want a specific training, we could do the same. So we could request you guys, whoever is interested, to invite us to do a training for you specifically or your team specifically. Please type "train me" in the chat window, and we would be happy to contact, and our champions would visit your organization, or we could arrange an online training similar to what we are doing today for your specific organization or your specific team members. So let us move on to our questions session. Now, as I told you, in this webinar, due to the shortness of time, we have just introduced the basic concepts of the fire. We have tried to identify the threat, and this would be again continued. The continuation would be in the webinar series 2, which would be around the 22nd of June. And then we would have the third series where we would be talking specifically of the applications. However, I would be happy to answer some of your questions that we would attend to now. Right, let me read through your questions. Please do ask your questions in the questions panel only. Right, so Andre has asked us, dear colleagues, will it be possible to send me a PowerPoint presentation that was used for the webinar? And we would be sharing the PowerPoint presentations with our attendees today, right? What care should be taken when we select the electrical switches and appliances to avoid fire? Now, this would be a deviation from our case. Yeah, but however, Sankit, there are several certifications available for the electrical switches and sockets, and you could refer to that. Right. How to decide a fire compartmentation on the floor? What we would say is fire compartmentation is a extensive topic which is covered in detail in the NFPA and also the several standards, IBC itself. Now, fire compartmentation is decided on several different parameters, be it the class of occupation, so occupancy classes, the local regulations, and several other details. So what we would say is you would have to refer it to your fire consultant and decide based on the NFPA 101, or you could refer to any of these IBC standards, and that would give you a detail on how the fire compartmentation is done. What Fisher does is ensure that the compartmentation is there after a breach. Means you have planned a compartmentation, you have done the compartmentation in the drawings. How would you ensure that it is done on the field itself? Right. The next question is, until how many minutes or hours that fire transfer to other areas since there is a fire rated wall? So what I understand from this question is you're asking how many hours will a compartment or the fire separating element would prevent the fire from passing into the non-fire side of the compartment. So generally, as per the standards, you have a requirement which is referred to the local authorities. So for example, in usual cases, the firewall would be 2 hours. So what we understand from this is that the firewall is required to resist the passage of flame and smoke from the fire compartment to the non-fire side for up to 2 hours. Hope that answers the question. The next question is how to decide fire compartmentations. That is already answered. Is there a warranty period for the material applied? Yes, there is. Second, okay. Good insight into compartmentations. Appreciated. Can you elaborate a bit more on EJ? What is the basis for an EJ? So engineering judgment, it's a very good question. Ms. Huma has asked us this question regarding the engineering judgment. So basically the engineering judgment is an interpolation based on the already tested system and also based on our internal testing, right? So the basis of engineering judgment is the guidelines which were issued under several codes. So be it the IFC who has issued a guidelines of how an engineering judgment is to be evaluated. So engineering judgment has to be, number one, for a specific project, for a specific application only. Number two, it will be based on either an interpolation to the existing test standard, or it would be based on our internal testing of that same kind of application. Thirdly, an engineering judgment cannot be issued for something that is already tested. So for example, if you have a test standard calling for say 13 mm of sealant, and to save money, a manufacturer cannot issue saying that you go ahead and use 6 mm sealant based on the engineering judgment. That is not correct. So there are correct applications for the engineering judgment and there are incorrect applications for engineering judgment. So something which would not be confident, that we would not be confident that this is correct, we would not issue an engineering judgment for that. Right. So Chandra has asked us, how do you avoid fire catch in a building facade? Any suggestion? Yes, the facade is a very, very specific topic. As per the new norms or the new test and new codes, there is a ban on using combustible type of facades. So number one is that. So you have to use a tested facade system only. So the test system would be generally referring to NFPA 285 or BS 8414, which would be testing the spread of fire over the facade. Apart from that, we would want to avoid the chimney effect, which is behind the facade, or the leapfrogging effect, by using the right type of FireStop system. We will talk about these systems in our third webinar. Right. Ahmed has asked, is it mandatory to have electrical sockets in the block walls FireStop? If yes, based on what standards and why, since wire is not going all the way through? Very good question, Mr. Ahmed. Your question refers to something that we would call as membrane penetration. So not only the electrical sockets, we would also talk about the pipes which just penetrate one side of the wall. Now, as per the standards, this also definitely needs to be FireStop so that the penetration does not go through, the fire does not go through. So you refer to the MGM Grand Hotel, where the fire was moldering within the wall itself. So in this case, we were not scared that the fire would go through the non-fire side. But if there is, for example, a small fire that happens in the compartment, this fire goes through the socket, right? Now imagine that somebody has come, used the active system or the sprinkler systems have extinguished the fire that has happened within the room itself. However, we should remember that spark of the fire is still there within that conduit which has just penetrated the wall, only from one side. Now, since there is no fresh oxygen, it would just be smoldering. But there would be small smoke coming out of that particular socket. Now, imagine somebody comes into the room and sees that there is smoke and they open it up. This would be a cause of a sudden explosion because of the sudden exposure to oxygen. So probably this is one of the reasons why we need to fire stop, so that the flames do not pass through the membrane penetration and form kind of a passive flame there, which would definitely expose when it is exposed to fire. I hope that answers the question. Let us move on to one more question from Christopher. For the warranty, can you please provide the number of years it is written on the product label or the material data sheet? Now, generally, warranty is one of the terms that is misunderstood. Now, when we are providing the sealant or the application, which would be used for this particular application. Now, sealant itself would have a life. For example, unused sealant, it would be having expiry date, say from 18 months or 12 months to up to 36 months, right? After the sealant has extruded and it has been applied, then you come to a period of curing. Once the sealant has cured, we have done accelerated age testing for up to 30 years of working life. So this is called as working life. Warranty would be for some product that is expected to get spoiled, right? For example, a moving machinery. So you have wear and tear. Coming to FireStop sealants and all, there is no point of wear and tear. So the warranty would not be that important in this case. What would be more important is what is the life of that product. And for the life, it is up to 30 years for Fisher FireStop products, right? So the warranty you would be needing for the application itself. So the one who is applying the sealant, he should give a warranty that he has applied the sealant in the correct way. Then you are sure that the thickness and everything is taken care by the applicator itself. So I hope I answered the question. To be straightforward, generally a manufacturer would be giving you a warranty as per the specification requirement for the product itself. But as I explained, it is not that important, right? Thank you, Huma. And then we have Muhammad Osama Hussain, who has asked, what is the W rating in FireStop Systems? Mr. Muhammad, I would be happy to welcome you in our second segment of this webinar, which would happen on 22nd of June. If I'm not wrong, we would be sending out the banners and the flyers to all those who have attended us, and they can take part. On that day, we would be specifically discussing about the several test standards that are available to test the FireStop systems and the parameters that they give and the rating that they give. In short, the W rating refers to the water leakage rating. It has nothing to do with water resistance or water. So you cannot say that if a sealant of a system has W rating, it is waterproof. No. Waterproofing and water resistance is a long topic. We'll discuss this in the second webinar. Right, thank you. And we have, can you put some light on F&T rating? Ms. Uma, we will talk about this in the second part, and I would be happy to see you there. And F&T rating, especially regarding perimeter fire barrier, again, we will be talking about this in the second part of this webinar. So with that, I think we are now at what time? So we are at 40 minutes, and I think we are in time. So yeah, that is answered. Ahmed has answered that. Yes, okay. Apart from this, we would be happy to answer your questions. You can still post it, and we would be, yes, very good question, Chandra. Give a reason why we need to suggest your product. Chandra, thank you for asking this wonderful question. Now, me as a technical engineer, as I told you, Being part of Fisher, we know the importance of life safety. We, as a partner to you, go the long way in deciding and helping you choose the right systems, number one. Number two, helping you ensure that you have applied it correctly by giving you trainings and the use of this product correctly. Number three, we ensure that our products, our systems are tested to the required testing standard. Hence, your compliance of codes is ensured, right? And then we stand by you as a partner, not just we want to sell the product. As a partner in knowledge sharing, we learn from each other and we share our knowledge to make sure that you are confident. Once you have used the system, you are confident it works just the right way as expected. So we ensure something that we call as peace of mind, being a partner to you, not just a company which would come and just sell and go away. So that is what we take very seriously. As you see, in all the range of our products, it's related to to life safety, and we take that very, very, very seriously. Secondly, you can also see this in our upcoming webinar, which is there tomorrow as well as day after tomorrow, on a second range of product, which is anchoring to walls and masonry walls. You could see how we have seriously taken care of knowledge sharing. So this is why I would say that you could, with peace of mind, with confidence, use the product line that we have as a system solution, not just as one product use. So thank you again for asking this question. Right. Please share code compliance in the next web in the handout, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll be doing that. Yes. And what precautions to be taken while facade work to prevent the fire spread? The very, very important topic about fire spread over the facade, I think the interest is generated because of the several fires that we see around the world, is number one, the facade system application should be tested as per the several test standards which are available, be it NFPA 285, be it PS 8414, that would ensure that the spread of flames over the facade is prevented. Number two, you have to take care of the cavity behind. So you use the right system for that cavity protection. The right system from Fisher is available, and we'll be talking about this in our upcoming webinars. I'm sorry, I'm trying to condense the answer so that we can stay within the time. Thank you. And Fisher provides certificate to qualified applicator contractors. How Fisher maintains or ensures that quality assurance are maintained? Can we invite Fisher on the site, have a field investigation? We have issues, doubts on the applicator. Christopher, definitely we, as I promised that we are a partner to you, we will be, number one, providing training to the applicator to use our product. Now, these certificates are time bound. What I mean by that is whenever you call for a certificate to be submitted, you can see the expiry date. Every applicator for us needs to take a renewal training every year so that we know that the people that they have are still the same. The people that they have are upgraded on the knowledge, and people that they have are using our product in the correct way. Being said that, still you might feel a little bit of doubt whether the applicator is doing the correct work on the project site or not. So we as a partner, we will be happy to assist you on the site. We would come to the field with you, and we can help you in locating or doing random inspection along with you, so we can clear your doubts. I hope that answers your question. Then we have Osaf Ali Khan, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Can I get the webinar's content by mail so that we can find out things in more details? Sure, we'll be sharing it with you guys. So I think that would be the questions. It is time to poll. We have the poll ready? Yes. So please go to your polls panel and I request you to please give us your feedback. So there is a panel on the next to the questions panel. I request you to please kindly go to that panel and cast your poll. Apart from that, we, as part of your partner, we would be happy to come to your organization, to your team, and do a specific training for your team itself. And that would be related to the topics that you choose. To do that, we request you to just type in train me in the chat panel itself. So there was another question. Does Fisher provide third-party certification after the application of fire stopping at the site? Well, as per the several inspection guidelines in the world, Fisher as a manufacturer is not allowed to do a third-party inspection. This would be considered as conflict of interest, and hence we would not be providing as a third-party inspection per se, but we would be happy to assist you on going on the site and doing the inspection. Hope that answers the question. And we have the polls. Kindly please provide us with your polls, and let me remind you that this is part of the series of FireStop webinars that are going to be conducted by us. This was just the first part, which is related to understanding the basics of fire protection. In the next series, we would be going in detail of testing and all. In the chat section, we have posted a link to register yourself in our upcoming webinars, which are not related to FireStop itself, but also to our other services that we offer. The next one, that is tomorrow, we will be doing something on how to do the anchor design within the masonry works. So this is also a very, very important topic, because as you can see, many of your houses, you would have drilled a hole to fix curtains into your wall, and you could have faced with the problem of curtain falling off. So we will be talking in detail about fixing into masonries, different type of masonry blocks, different type of masonry anchors that we can provide, and the software for designing these anchors in the masonry. So we have a very, very interesting topic to be covered. That is tomorrow. We will have a repeat of one of our webinars that we had done recently, which is specifically talking about fixing into dry wall systems. So you have the hollow wall system. So you have the modern offices, large open spaces which are divided by gypsum walls. How do you fix into that? You don't want your photo frame to fall off when you are having an important meeting, right? So what Fisher anchor would you use to fix into that? This would be covered in our webinar, which is coming up on today in the afternoon from 3 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. A short webinar, but a very interesting webinar for you guys. I'm very happy we have got a request for several trainees, and we will contact each one of you via mail. I would send it personally to each one of you and arrange a meeting with you guys. Thank you very much for attending the webinar today, and see you soon, precisely on June 22nd, for the second webinar, which would be really, really interesting on the topic of testing and how the FireStop actually works. In July, we'll be giving the date exactly on the second webinar date of the final webinars of this particular series, which would be talking about the correct applications that you would see on the site. We'll be debunking some of the myths related to fire stopping, and we will be showing you some of the images before after of how the FireStop looks like. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining again, and see you soon.